By the late 1980s, the slasher craze was suffocating under the weight of its own success. Every major studio was pumping out endless sequels, turning silent killers into household brand names, and milking franchises until the well ran completely dry. But out of the independent Wild West, plenty of filmmakers tried their hand at the body count formula, dropped one killer movie on the rental shelves, and vanished into the night. No franchises, no recurring villains, and no cash grab follow-ups, just a single self-contained slice of late-decade carnage. Tonight, we're looking at 10 overlooked late 80s slashers that were true one-and-done efforts. These are the standalone bloodbaths that avoided the franchise machine. From gym slashing sprees to high school reunions and theater stage hauntings that got their business done the first time and never looked back. Here are 10 single-entry slashers worth hunting down. Intruder, 1989. It's closing time at a small-town supermarket, but for the overnight stock crew, the night is just beginning, and it won't end well. As they restock shelves and prepare for the next day, a mysterious killer lurks in the aisles, turning the store into a bloody hunting ground. One by one, employees are picked off in increasingly gruesome fashion, leaving only a few to fight for survival. Created by Scott Spiegel, Intruder is a late 80s slasher that has earned a reputation for its inventive kills and wild camera work. The cast features Elizabeth Cox as the lead, alongside appearances from Renee Staves, Dan Hicks, and even cult icons Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi in small but memorable roles. What makes Intruder unforgettable are its set pieces. Spiegel and his crew find creative ways to turn everyday supermarket equipment into instruments of carnage. Box bailers, meat slicers, and power saws are all used to horrifying effect. The gore, handled by K&B Effects Group in one of their early projects, is over the top and practical, cementing the film as a splatter classic. Visually, the film is stylish and experimental, with Spiegel using extreme camera angles, POV shots, and clever edits that give the slasher formula fresh energy. It's both brutal and playful, a mix that makes the mayhem oddly entertaining. Though modest in scope, Intruder thrives as a VHS-era favorite, delivering everything slasher fans crave: a tight setting, memorable kills, and just enough camp to balance out the horror. It's proof that sometimes the most ordinary places can hide the deadliest of nightmares. Edge of the Axe, 1988. A quiet Northern California town is shaken by a series of axe murders carried out by a masked killer in a blank white face covering. As fear spreads, a local computer enthusiast and his girlfriend begin digging into the pattern behind the attacks. Their search points to a buried town secret and puts them directly in the killer's path. The story mixes small-town slasher structure with a light mystery thread. Clues, false leads, and suspicious locals keep the focus on who might be behind the mask rather than just when the next attack will happen. Directed by Jose Ramon Larraz, the film is a Spanish-American co-production with a slightly different visual feel than most late 80s slashers. Barton Fox and Christina Marie Lane play the amateur investigators, giving the center relationship a relaxed, believable tone that helps carry the slower stretches. Scenes rely on practical effects and close-quarter axe attacks, staged for impact without going over the top. The mask design gives the killer a stark, emotionless look, and the home computer angle, used for research and communication, firmly places the movie in its era. A straightforward hybrid of mystery and slasher beats, not flashy, but solidly built, and a worthwhile deep cut for 80s slasher fans. Stage Fright, 1987. A theater company rehearses a musical inspired by a serial killer. When one of the actresses is injured, she's taken to a nearby psychiatric hospital, unaware that an actual murderer has just escaped from that same facility. He follows the group back to the theater, hoping to push rehearsals through the night. The show's director locks the cast inside, sealing them in with someone who begins killing them one by one. The film makes strong use of its setting from the start. Michele Soavi's direction is precise, with clear geography that keeps the audience oriented even as escape routes disappear. Barbara Copisti and David Brandon lead the cast, with Brandon standing out as the arrogant director whose ego creates the situation in the first place. The killer's oversized owl mask is instantly recognizable, strange, theatrical, and unsettling without explanation. Violence is staged with intention rather than speed. The theater becomes a toolbox for murder with stage equipment, props, and backstage spaces repurposed into traps. Kills are graphic but carefully framed, emphasizing movement and composition over chaos. Practical effects are prominent, and the confined environment keeps tension high as the cast is gradually boxed in. Stage fright is a straightforward slasher elevated by visual control. It doesn't spend time on psychology or backstory, focusing instead on pacing, atmosphere, and execution. The result is a lean, stylish thriller that understands how to use space, lighting, and spectacle to keep familiar material feeling sharp. Cheerleader Camp, 1988. A cheer squad heads to a remote training camp ahead of a big competition, expecting hard practice and team bonding. Instead, someone starts picking them off one by one. The team's lead flyer begins having violent nightmares that match the real attacks, leaving her unsure whether she is sensing the danger or somehow connected to it. The mystery angle adds a small twist to the usual camp slasher setup. Someone shifts around the group as the numbers drop, and isolation does the rest of the work. Most of the tension comes from the dream versus reality question tied to the lead character. Betsy Russell anchors the film as the troubled protagonist, with Leif Garrett appearing as her boyfriend. Familiar genre faces fill out the squad and staff, including George Buck Flower in a comic relief role. Performances stay in line with late 80s slasher expectations. To that end, director John Quinn keeps things straightforward. The setting delivers cabins, woods, and practice areas that double as danger zones. Kill scenes use practical effects and standard slasher tools, with a few dream sequences adding stylized touches. A by-the-numbers late-cycle slasher with a light psychological hook. Not groundbreaking, but functional and easy to slot into 80s camp horror lineups. Blood Rage, 1987. If you're flipping through the horror section of your local video store in the late 80s, chances are the lurid cover of Blood Rage caught your eye. Set around Thanksgiving, a holiday rarely touched by horror, it delivers a family gathering gone horribly wrong, where twin brothers, one institutionalized and the other hiding his murderous streak, turn a suburban apartment complex into a blood-soaked battleground. Mark Soper pulls double duty as both twins, the unhinged Terry and the wrongly accused Todd, giving the movie its central hook. Louise Lasser plays their increasingly unstable mother, whose breakdowns add a bizarre layer of dark comedy to the chaos. But the real draw for late-night audiences and horror hounds alike was the gore. With outrageous kills, severed limbs, and gallons of fake blood, Blood Rage went all in on the splatter. Its campy dialogue and over-the-top violence made it exactly the kind of cult favorite that thrived on VHS shelves and midnight marathons. Though dismissed by critics at the time, Blood Rage has since earned its place as one of the most outrageous slashers of the decade. For fans of offbeat 80s horror, it's a messy, bloody, and oddly entertaining reminder that sometimes the weirdest movies are the most fun to discover. Killer Workout, 1987. It's a Los Angeles health club. Fitness isn't the only thing making people sweat. A killer's on the loose, turning spandex and aerobics into a bloody nightmare. As instructors push their clients through high-energy routines, bodies begin piling up, and the flashy neon-soaked gym becomes a hunting ground for a murderer with a taste for sharp objects and skin-tight targets. Directed by David A. Pryor, Killer Workout, also known as Aerobicide, perfectly captures the excess of the 80s fitness craze while twisting it into a slasher territory. Marsha Carr stars as the tough-as-nails Rhonda, while Ted Pryor and David James Campbell round out the cast of gym regulars caught in the chaos. The film is remembered for its non-stop workout montages filled with thumping synth beats, leg warmers, and choreographed aerobic sequences that feel straight out of a music video. Between the flashy dance numbers, the killer strikes often with a giant safety pin, adding an odd but memorable signature weapon to the slasher canon. What makes Killer Workout so enduring is its blend of camp and commitment. It never winks at its audience, even as it delivers outrageous kills alongside endless montages of exercise routines. The sincerity makes the absurdity even more entertaining. Though it didn't make waves in theaters, Killer Workout found its true calling on VHS, where its mix of slasher violence and aerobics nostalgia earned it cult status. It's a perfect time capsule of the era, equal parts deadly and neon bright. Hide and Go Shriek, 1988. When a group of teenagers decides to celebrate their high school graduation with an after-hours party inside a sprawling furniture store, it seems like harmless fun. Drinks, dares, and even a few forbidden hookups are all on the agenda. But once the lights go out and the doors are locked, the party takes a deadly turn. A killer is stalking the aisles, turning the store's mannequins, mirrors, and showrooms into tools of terror. Hide and Go Shriek takes the slasher formula and gives it a unique setting that's both playful and unnerving. The endless rows of beds, wardrobes, and mannequins create a labyrinth where shadows play tricks and hiding places can quickly become death traps. It's a clever twist on the classic locked-in overnight premise, grounding the suspense in a setting everyone recognizes but suddenly can't trust. The film thrives on its atmosphere, fluorescent lights flickering above, mannequins seeming to breathe in the dark, and the eerie quiet of a building that should be empty. When the violence erupts, it's raw and brutal, punctuating the tension with a grim reminder that this isn't just a game of hide and seek. What makes it linger is the way it edges into darker territory than expected. Beneath the surface-level thrills, the killer's motives and identity bring disturbing twists, tying the murders into themes of repression, sexuality, and hidden identity. That layer of subtext makes the film stand out from its peers, elevating it from a simple slasher to something more memorable. Hide and Go Shriek may not have broken through to mainstream horror fame, but for fans of inventive 80s slashers, it delivers exactly what the title promises: a deadly game where every corner hides the possibility of bloodshed. Hell High, 1987. Childhood trauma and teenage cruelty collide in a dark psychological slasher that subverts standard high school horror tropes. Decades after a traumatic childhood incident in a swamp resulted in 2 deaths, schoolteacher Miss Storm leads a quiet, reclusive life. That fragile peace shatters when 4 delinquent students target her for an escalating campaign of harassment. What starts as a cruel teenage prank fest culminates in a terrifying late-night home invasion, pushing the victim past her mental breaking point and unleashing a violent, vengeful response. Director Douglas Grossman anchors the film's tension in realistic, uncomfortable group dynamics rather than supernatural threats. Christopher Stryker delivers a chilling, standout performance as Dickens, the unhinged ringleader whose sociopathic hostility drives the teenagers deeper into unspeakable violence. Rather than rushing into typical body count beats, the narrative meticulously builds a sense of dread through claustrophobic staging, unsettling atmosphere, and a lingering focus on psychological abuse within the domestic space. Cinematographer James Lemo utilizes stark, gritty lighting and oppressive shadow work to blur the line between victim and killer. Coupled with a moody, synth-driven score, the production captures the grimy, unpolished edge of late 1980s regional cinema. The film shifts dynamically from a teen angst drama into an aggressive survival thriller, stripping away slick commercial tropes. It remains a gritty cult curiosity of the VHS video store era, remembered for its mean-spirited intensity and subversion of typical slasher revenge mechanics. Offerings, 1989. A bullied boy is relentlessly abused by neighborhood kids until a tragic accident leaves him hospitalized for years. When he finally returns home, he begins taking revenge on those connected to his past. After each killing, he leaves a gruesome gift on the doorstep of the one girl who once treated him kindly, believing she will understand. The structure follows a back-to-town revenge pattern, with the mystery centered on when the connection will be discovered. Much of the tension comes from the link between childhood cruelty and adult violence. Directed by Christopher Reynolds, the film clearly draws inspiration from late 70s suburban slashers, using point-of-view shots in a quiet neighborhood setting. Kill scenes rely on practical effects and standard slasher methods, including blade attacks and stage shock moments. The body part offerings idea gives the movie its one standout hook, even though it is used simply. Locations are limited, but grounded in small-town streets and homes. A low-budget, late-cycle slasher built on familiar formulas with one macabre twist, mostly for genre deep divers and completionists. Rush Week, 1989. During Fraternity Rush Week on a college campus, female students begin vanishing and later turn up dead. With parties and initiations in full swing, the chaos provides easy cover for the killer. A student reporter starts digging into the pattern and teams with a modeling student to trace the link between the crimes and Greek life. The investigation angle drives more of the film than pure stalking. Interviews, campus rumors, and fraternity politics shape the mystery while suspects rotate through the spotlight. Director Bob Braliver plays it as a campus whodunit with slasher beats layered on top. Pamela Ludwig leads as the determined journalist, with Dean Hamilton as her primary ally. Musician Greg Allman appears in a supporting role, giving the cast a recognizable face, mostly amongst lesser-known performers. Kill scenes use straightforward practical effects and standard weapon attacks staged in dorms, houses, and campus buildings. The college setting adds variety, but stays grounded and familiar rather than stylizing itself. A late-cycle 80s campus slasher built around a mystery hook, competent, simple, and mostly for genre completionists. That's it for tonight's episode. If you want to help us keep the archive alive and growing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. And remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is somebody's favorite.